This is a small demo of how you can use some of the capabilities in Windows Server 2008. For example, in this case, using the terminal services capabilities and the remote application publishing capabilities that come with Windows Server 2008 to publish the Microsoft Dynamics AX client. So I'm looking at the end result here, which is a website. It's the simple out-of-the-box website with terminal services that you can see that we've got some applications published here. And what this means is that I can actually click on this and it'll start a remote application publishing session, essentially a terminal session in to use that application. So if I, for example, log on as that user, in this case Sammy, for example, you'll see that the application, in this case Microsoft Excel, is started, but to the user it looks like just another application on the desktop. So we can use these capabilities to actually publish the Microsoft Dynamics AX client as well through terminal services. So if I jump into the administration tools and if I jump into terminal services, we have the remote application manager here. So if I start that up, you'll see I've got the capability to administer the terminal services, and one of the things that I can do here is add a remote application program. So if I start this up, it gives me a small wizard to select existing programs. So on this terminal server, I've got, of course, the Microsoft Dynamics AX client installed. So I can simply select that client and finish it off in terms of see the application settings that are going to be published here. So if I click finish, you'll see that this is the list of applications that are actually published as a remote application. So if I go back to that website, the TS Remote Application Publishing website, and I'll just refresh it here, you'll see that I now have the Microsoft Dynamics AX client published. So I can actually click on that and start that up. So if I can log on here, for example, as Sammy, you'll see that it'll start a terminal session and actually start the Microsoft Dynamics AX client. Now, because of course we're logging on as Sammy, you'll get Sammy's, of course, role center because we're actually running that application. And if you see on the taskbar here, you'll see that the client says remote, and this is the remote session. So if I close that out, if I log on to Sammy, for example, I've got Sammy's desktop here. You'll see I've logged on to Sammy as another session. Now what this means is that Sammy can modify, for example, because Sammy's the shipping and the receiving guy who works down in the warehouse. He may need to get into the Microsoft Dynamics AX client to do advanced function, but typically he might just use the enterprise portal. So what he can do and work with the IT guys to do is edit the existing role center page, for example, and from here I can add, of course, web parts. So I might go down to the bottom here and add a web part down the bottom of his web page. Now, of course, through the web parts that you have available in standard SharePoint, you have the ability to use the web page viewer web part, or if you want to get a little bit more technical, of course, you can take that ActiveX control, which is what's actually publishing that remote application list. I can actually publish those onto Sammy's SharePoint page. Okay, so if I find the web page viewer web part, and I'll add that to the Sammy's role center page here. So this is the page entered. Of course I need to configure the part. Now if I go back to the administrator console that I was on before, and I'll just copy the URL here, and then go back to Sammy's session, and I'll just paste the URL into the address bar for the web part, and simply accessing the web address of where that terminal services web access is publishing those applications. So I might change the layout a little bit and just make the height of that part a little bit bigger. So I'll make that 8 centimeters, for example, just so that I can see it. So I'll just accept that, and I'll just say OK, and I'll just exit the page that I've set up here. So if I scroll down, you'll see that I've got the full Terminal Services Web Access page, and you'll see that I've got the remote applications published here, for example. So I can, from the Role Center now, click on the Microsoft Dynamics AX client and of course start it up, and this will allow me to log on as the users that have access to the application. So if I log on there, this will of course start the terminal session, and you'll see that on Sammy's desktop that he's actually got the client running, and a client is actually running through a terminal session. So it just shows you how you can combine some of the distribution technologies, for example with the role center, with, for example, terminal services to present, the best sort of experience for the users to get access to the application. Of course, refer to the standard sort of performance and benchmarking on how to deploy the client, because it is the client running over a terminal session, for example. But it's an interesting capability, enables you to broaden the reach of how users can get access to the business application.